Starfield had just released and is currently the talk of the entire internet. This game seems to be controversial by all accords, as many Bethesda games seem to have become. The biggest of these controversies isn't actually related to the gameplay itself, but the writing and alleged insertion of leftist political signaling. This has reignited the whole woke video games debate that has been going on for a whole decade at this point. Of course, whether a forced political virtue signal is ham-fisted into games and the target audience of that game revolts, it leads to politics-addicted Twitter brain-rotted contrarians to own the chuds by mentioning Metal Gear Solid. Because this and this are exactly the same thing in every way, shape, and form, right? Well, let's assess their argument. To properly explain my rebuttal to all the tired, all games are political arguments, I would like to place games into three distinct categories: political themes, political backdrops, and ham-fisted political messaging. Themes would be what Metal Gear Solid and BioShock would go under. The story deals with military conflict heavily and comes to the groundbreaking conclusion that war is bad.
I'll rid this world of pointless wars, Jack.
This is the category that most people will point to if you don't like the modern way games handle politics. They sneer at you saying you don't like politics in video games, yet you like Metal Gear, as if the characters complaining about capitalism in Saints Row 2022 is nearly the level of intellect that Metal Gear is written for.
Told you before, the idols are trying to build a post-capitalist society where money is not a concept.
Yeah? You look like you could use a mimosa.
Thanks, Eli.
I can tell you love it.
Okay. I don't have to love it, I have to pay my student loans.
Amen.
On to the next category, we have political backdrops, which would encompass games such as Persona 5, Sonic Adventure 2, Castle Crashers, and even Super Mario. The content and messaging of these games do not take political stances, yet take place in a world with political leaders. The Mushroom Kingdom is a political institution that is never explored because that's not the point of the Mario games. In Super Mario Wonder, both Daisy and Peach are in on the adventure in the Flower Kingdom. Both of the princesses have abandoned their posts at their respective kingdoms in this game to take place in this adventure, yet nobody cares because it's clear Nintendo doesn't care about the world building of Mario. We see no further insight on the political workings of the Mushroom Kingdom, or the hierarchy there is. Because as the big boy Reggie Fils-Aimé once said,
making political statements are for other people to do. We want people to smile and have fun when they play our game.
For something with more substance like Persona 5, let's look at the two politician characters and how they're written. I will try to be as spoiler-free as I can because I know you, Chaz, are watching right now and you swear you'll finish Persona 5 even though it's been 2 months. If you are worried about spoilers, just know that only one of these characters is pivotal to the plot, and this timestamp is when I am done talking about Persona. There is a confidant in the game that you can talk to named Toranosuke Yoshida. Apologies if I butchered that name. I am not Japanese. Yoshida is a disgraced politician. Despite his entire social link revolving around the career of politics, the conflict of the confidant revolves around the character's struggles of overcoming people's perception of him from what he did in the distant past. That's what we're led to believe anyway. Despite Yoshida being blackballed after the scandal, he keeps moving forward, advocating for his ideals independent of his past that haunts him. These scandals being embezzling party funds, missing a legislative meeting to take a personal vacation, and finally calling a voter an idiot in an open forum. What makes this character so relatable is that these are all personal failings. Atlus took on the challenge of writing a politician to be likable and actually succeeded. This was all because many of the emotional story beats could also occur in the corporate realm, just like how it did here. For a politician that is portrayed negatively, the writing is mostly the same. The issues the Phantom Thieves have with Shido are not because Shido is a chud and will implement evil policy. The main problem is how Shido is attaining that political power. Not to mention that he drunkenly harassed a woman and blamed our teenage protagonist, got a prostitute pregnant and abandoned the child, got Wakaba killed on top of a whole host of other heinous acts. None of the condemnation of Shido, however, is based on his political ideology. Better yet, his ideology is never explored outside of an exposition dumped by Sojiro because it's not that important. Leftoids will say he is literally Trump, where rightoids will say he is literally Biden. Those comparisons being projection on both parts because there is no such indication of whom he would be more sympathetic to. Also, he is literally Japanese. Some would argue that Shido is clearly a parody of Shinzo Abe because both made promises that they don't actually fulfill. Almost like they're politicians trying to get elected. Even if he supposedly is a parody of Shinzo Abe, the character firmly stands on his own without needing any real-world context. Also, Shinzo Abe never had an illegitimate child like Shido. Rest in peace, my man Shinzo Abe. But now we get to the crux of this video: political sloganeering. This would encompass the games which have nothing to do with politics inherently, have a couple of things that are clearly just there as means of virtue signaling. Virtue signaling, as defined by Wikipedia, is expressing a conscious, self-righteous, moral viewpoint with the intent of communicating good character. There is no discussion or debate in-game about what transpires. It just is. These tend to be more of the trendy culture war social issues variety, such as LGBT, feminism, race politics, climate change, etc. This would be what Starfield falls under, with its inclusion of pronouns in the character creator, on top of many other things.
My husband.
Might I add that mods removing the pronouns toggle have been banned from Nexus mods, not just for Starfield but in any game that may have this feature in the future. Other games with this current day political messaging would be Overwatch 2, Spider-Man Remastered, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Dead by Daylight, A Hat in Time, Shovel Knight, and the Dead Space remake. What all of these have in common is that the current day hot topics have weaseled their way into the game, sticking out like a sore thumb as a result.
The way he leaps off of rooftops and flips backwards to face the camera before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen.
A lot of these elements slithering their way into the game after it came out. The remake of Dead Space replaced white characters with people of color, one clearly implying that she is a lesbian at the beginning of the game. Even the bathrooms, which have previously been sex segregated, are now a single intersex bathroom.
Nicole?
Yeah. First I've heard from her in weeks.
We're 5 minutes out. You still got that thing on repeat? Guess you really miss her.
This rumor is not a job you turn down, but 6 months apart with only vid calls? It's rough. Easy to say the wrong thing.
I don't blame you. I'd listen to my girlfriend over Hammond reciting security protocols.
Overwatch is more than willing to retcon multiple characters to be LGBT whenever an SA scandal happens at Activision Blizzard. There was a Pride event in Dead by Daylight where you could receive a Pride pin for your character to wear. The Twitter account made it very clear that targeting a player for wearing the Pride pin will result in a ban.
Now, I've seen a lot of concerns about this charm. I've seen some people from the LGBT community say that they have seen comments from people saying that when they play Killer, they're just going to tunnel and camp every person who is wearing this charm. And I think that's pretty sad, honestly. I'm not a member of the LGBT community personally, but, you know, my cousins are, my wife's cousins are, my nephew is. So what I'm going to do, and I can't tell all of you what to do, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to wear the charm all the time. Because I think inclusiveness is important. And, hey, if we all showed our solidarity with the LGBT community, that we want to be inclusive, and we all supported them by wearing that charm too and flying our pride flag, then they can't camp and tunnel us all. That's the way I feel about it.
This is the only cosmetic in the game that can risk you getting banned if you do the objective in the game, if you are one of the killers, such as Jason Voorhees, to eliminate the survivors.
With this game, we are here all year, and it's the other 11 months that make this 1 month from Dead by Daylight so meaningful. Because the other 11 months, that love is always there. So thank you very much for everybody,
The problem with the implementation of current day politics in games is that it is clear that the writer who implemented such current day politics is a Starbucks drinking, city dwelling, white guilt ridden Californian or New Yorker who isn't a part of the industry for the love of the craft, but has infiltrated the industry as a means to influence the minds of gamers. When I see characters bitch about capitalism, student loans, patriarchy, immigration, or whatever buzzwords that progressives like to use, I am immediately pulled out of the game and am brought to realize that what I'm experiencing is completely conjured up by people who I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. If I, as an American, roll my eyes at this, how receptive do you think a Turkish or Japanese player would be to these American culture war issues being thrusted into video games that they consume? Games used to be timeless pieces of art, but with the advent of games as a service, abandonware, and wokeness in video games, the expiration date on these games are more apparent than ever. 38 years later, Super Mario Bros. For the NES is getting played with speedrunners continuing to break world records to this day. In 38 years from now, will anybody ever know about the Black Lives Matter imagery featured in Spider-Man Miles Morales?
What type of whack ass shit? Look at this whack ass shit. Like they fucking, like that was their excuse to try to throw that in there, right? Was some fucking random, hey, thank you, Black Lives Matter. Like what?
Even just 3 years after the game came out, Black Lives Matter went from being a force to be reckoned with to going bankrupt. BLM may have been the popular thing when the game was released, but it sure is not now. The more people that play Spider-Man Miles Morales for the first time will still be subjected to BLM sloganeering regardless, because some champagne socialist HR director really wanted to virtue signal in Sony's big blockbuster title. If you are disagreeing with me currently, I am glad you are still even hearing me out. But more importantly, let me list some hypothetical examples of right-wing political sloganeering in video games. Imagine instead of pride flags in Spider-Man, there was an accurate recreation of Trump Tower right there in New York. Instead of pride pins in Dead by Daylight, there were super straight pins. Instead of BLM graffiti in Miles Morales, what about a Trump mugshot? Trans flag in A Hat in Time? What about a pro-life sign? Now, let's go back to the year 2000 when 6-year-old Elián González, due to a custody battle, risked being sent off to Cuba with the backing of Fidel Castro. This was the hot-button subject in the Floridian Cuban community leading up to the 2000s election, just like how George Floyd was leading up to the 2020 election. Now imagine if Pokemon Stadium 2, Shenmue, Majora's Mask, or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which all released in the year 2000, all had references to Elián González. The inclusion wouldn't make sense to the majority of those games. The only one that could realistically fit within the world would be Pro Skater 2. But regardless of the game, real-world current-day politics shouldn't influence the creative process to such a degree. Having Elián graffiti in a video game that came out back then would completely land on deaf ears to anyone playing it today. And if you were to remember, chances are that those memories surrounding the Elián controversy would have you thinking about communist Cuba and the feds, just like how BLM in Spider-Man makes players remember of the over 100 nights of rioting that took place in the summer of 2020. Hopefully I have made my point clear that even if a game's story is heavily rooted in military conflict, international relations, and maneuvering the political world, it can still be done without being an overbearing progressive prog. Just for those in the back, I am okay with a politician character being in the game and even being antagonistic. Just when you make the character a parody of Trump, Obama, or even Vivek Ramaswamy, that's when you lose my interest. Also, if you can tell the difference between Metal Gear Solid and this image I have on screen right here, then you're on the right track.
Everything's political. No, it isn't. Just because you're incapable of self-reflection and you shove politics in everything you say and do, and this causes you to project political motivations onto everyone else, and you're now incapable of seeing things as they are, and feel the need to inject your bias into everything and make everything about your pet issues through eisegesis. That doesn't mean everything is meant to be viewed through an ideological lens. Not everything is an allegory for the struggles of the proletariat, or the intersection of race and justice, or whatever bullshit your English professor told you. Just because all you have is a hammer, that doesn't mean everything is a nail. LOL, you're dumb. When we say everything is political, that just means all media is a product of the cultures that produce it, and it can't be separated from that context. Media encompasses all human experience, and so do politics, therefore all media is political. First of all, that's not the same as saying everything is political, because the word political has a dictionary definition which you are conveniently ignoring. Politics don't encompass all human experience, and only an idiot would say it does. That or a totalitarian who thinks all art which doesn't support their party is dangerous. Second, even if that's all it meant, maybe you should stop saying everything is political as a rhetorical cudgel to shut down criticisms of propaganda disguised as entertainment, or media being cynically redesigned to insincerely appeal to the current socio-political climate for no reason other than it's what some studio executive thinks will get stupid people who seek validation from pop culture to buy tickets and merchandise. Because that's clearly not what's being argued, you disingenuous weasel. Oh look, the evil corporation who runs sweatshops in China changed their icon on Twitter to the pride flag. Let's buy some sneakers. You're the exact type of person this movie was made for. A stupid consumerist moron who thinks they're smarter than they really are because they read the New York Times. Get the f*** out of my sight. Yes, sir.